Welcome to Wildly Wealthy Life, the show that's all about exploring the different paths to a life of freedom and fulfillment and how that ripples through your personal life, family life, and to the community. Join husband and wife power couple Lee and Kat Hughes as they share people's stories from different backgrounds and lifestyles about what it means to live a life well lived. Tune in and take that first step to becoming the best version of yourself, personally and professionally, here on Wildly Wealthy Life.
I realized that having skills, having physical skills, not only can you make money with it, you can start a business if you have these skills. It's pretty easy to start a business. And the DIY aspect of it is you can fix anything that goes wrong at your house. If something breaks it's the night before Christmas and something breaks in your house and you can fix it, you can take care of it and really feel good about it. And also I've been able to buy houses, and I've owned 2 houses. I don't rent anything as of yet. That's an area that I do want to get into. But the house that I'm living in now, we bought it very cheap because it was a huge piece of junk. And so these skills that I've developed over the years helped me turn our house from a pile of junk into a nice house. It's a great place that we really enjoy, and I get to look around and say, yep, I did this. I put this all together. I had help, of course, which is also nice, but just the satisfaction of it is amazing.
Hello and welcome to Wildly Wealthy Life podcast. My name is Kat, and over to my right is my co-host and husband, Lee. Lee, who do we have on today?
Well, today we have Tinian Crawford, Mr. Captain DIY himself, and I am so excited because as a fellow home DIYer,
yes, you are.
I'm excited to hear about some of his different stories and outlooks on financial freedom and living his best wildly wealthy life. And Tinian, could you kick us off? Give us a little bit of an introduction about your background and who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a great introduction. That's awesome. So I started, I guess you could say I started not necessarily by choice. It was mostly, my father wanted to build a barn. And so, here's a hammer, off you go. We're building a barn today. And so that was kind of my introduction into DIY. And my father's an old hippie, lives out in the woods. And so it's, if something's broken, you fix it. And you fix it however you can with whatever you have available. And that's just how it works. And so that was kind of the mentality that I had growing up. I got away from that a little bit when I moved out of the house because, people like to rebel a little bit from their parents when they move away. And I kind of backed off of that. I got a degree in graphic arts. And I decided while getting that degree that it meant sitting in front of a computer all day, and I hated that. And so that's when I kind of moved off into other fields, and I got a job working at a sign shop making signs. And it seemed like it was good at the time. Started to realize that it was kind of a dead-end job, and thought about getting an electrical license just because a lot of the signs have electricity in them, they're lit. And I thought it would be more valuable if I had an electrical license. My wife caught wind of this and started sending me emails for local trade schools and stuff. And so I went to one, I checked it out, and I thought it was pretty cool. I signed up. Electrician work it's great for me because I like to work with my hands, and I also like creative problem solving. And so that kind of works well together. Things like carpentry, electrical work, plumbing, that kind of thing, they all have those elements to them, and you can make really good money doing it, which is great. And it's been a really beneficial decision for me. I've been able to provide my family with some great opportunities because of it, and it's just worked out really well. And so I'm very happy I made that choice. I don't necessarily identify myself as an electrician. I am an electrician for money. I'm not an electrician in life, but it's been a great path for me to take. And I try to push more people towards the trades and the vocational careers, just because there's so many opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons that you got? Because as you were saying, like your dad kind of gave you a hammer and forced you out into the building of a barn. But from that though, what were some of the things that you picked up on? Because it's like you kind of rebelled, went into graphic design, but then kind of almost went back to what he kind of sent you out with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was not necessarily a conscious path for me to make this swing from one side to the other. It just kind of ended up that way. And I guess I realized that having physical skills, not only can you make money with it, you can start a business if you have these skills. It's pretty easy to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
And the DIY aspect of it is you can fix anything that goes wrong at your house. If something breaks it's the night before Christmas and something breaks in your house, and you can fix it. You can take care of it and really feel good about it. And also I've been able to buy houses, and I've owned 2 houses. I don't rent anything as of yet. That's an area that I do want to get into. But the house that I'm living in now, we bought it very cheap because it was a huge piece of junk. And so these skills that I've developed over the years helped me turn our house from a pile of junk into a nice house. It's a great place that we really enjoy, and I get to look around and say, yep, I did this. I put this all together. I had help, of course, which is also nice, but just the satisfaction of it is amazing.
That's awesome. I think there's really something I agree, like putting your hands to work. There's really, Lee over here, like he also loves like DIY things, and he always loves like building stuff here around the house. And I think that when you're self-sufficient like that, there's a lot of value in it. But also not just value in like what you can do for yourself, but also like you really like do save a lot of money. Like you said, you're able to like buy maybe a cheaper house just because maybe there's some things in it that needs to get work done, and you're the one that can, work on it. Whereas other people probably will walk away from a cheaper house because they're like, oh, we don't want to put our hands to that. So I think there's a lot of value in that. But I also want to ask about, from just reading about you, I think from my understanding is that your wife was a lot more aware about financial stuff. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. She's always been a saver. Ever since she was a kid, she loved to save money, and she always wanted to make sure to have a cushion. And,
right.
I was not that way at all.
So then I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit on that. So you married with someone who is a little bit more aware of those things, right? And then you're not. How did that evolve for you? And how was your relationship together, especially when it comes to money? I think it's really good to kind of bring that up as well, because in a lot of relationships, money becomes an issue. And sometimes when one is a saver and one isn't, how did you work through all of that differences, and how you came about, with your now wanting to kind of be on board?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I never really thought much about money beyond, wanting to make enough to do what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And for her, money was more of a feeling of comfort and security, was having this money. And so with her having much stronger feelings about it than me, I think it was easy for her to say, hey, listen, our lives would be a lot better if we had this cushion, just to make sure that, if something bad happens, we have something that we can use to protect ourselves with it. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. And then, eventually, when we got into the financial independence thing, she started us down that rabbit hole, and she got me on board. I'm working for a state university as an electrician, and when I started, I was looking at it was about 34 years from when I started to when I could retire with my pension. And and she said, well, I found this financial independence stuff. I think you should check it out. And so when I started looking at it, and I was like, oh, I don't have to work for 34 years here. This is amazing. And then I was fully on board.
I know for myself too, I think my wife and I have the same relationship as you and your wife, because like, oh, we have money, let's spend it. What? Wait a minute.
And I'm the saver. I'm like, no.
But now I have this little voice in my ear, and I'm like, maybe I don't need that. All right.
Right.
Yeah. What types of avenues do you and your wife maybe prefer to run when it comes to the financial independence? Like, are there certain streams of like income, as they talk about, that you kind of press into, or?
Well, so as I mentioned earlier, we have been thinking about getting into rental properties. So far, we have been doing the index fund investing. That's basically, so working for East University, I have access to a 457 account and a 403b. So I max out my 457. I'm not able to max out the 403b as well, but I put a little bit into that, and then we both put money into IRAs, and she has a retirement account as well through her job. So she works part-time as a school psychologist, and then she also has a private practice as a therapist. And so she puts in some money through her job, and then she puts in some money through a Roth IRA. So that's mostly where we've been at right now, and kind of expanding income streams as well.
Awesome.
That's
and
awesome.
then with your guys' balance of your kind of like your day-to-day, do you have those conversations about like budgets and like weekly, monthly, or is it just you've kind of got a system in place and you run with it?
Yeah, we're not super solid on budgets. We don't go too crazy with specifics. It's just, we try not to spend money. If we're going to buy something, we're going to buy it on sale if possible. And, if not, we're going to be very intentional about it. And my wife is really good at shopping, getting the best deal for things.
Yes, wife.
Yeah, totally. And that's pretty much it. It's our conversations are mostly around logistics rather than money. It's any money conversation is going to be, well, it looks like we need a little bit more money in the bank account, so one of us will take a little bit out of our business account and put it into there. And that's pretty much it. She keeps an eye on like our personal capital account, and she'll show me what's going on with that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much the extent of it.
So let's go back a little bit to when you said that she introduced you to Camp Phi, and then you guys, you went, right? I think I saw on your blog that you had gone another year. Have you been going a couple times, or did you go 2 times and that was it?
Yeah, so I've been a couple of times. The first time I went, I found on it was on Phiology.com. There was a raffle where they were saying there was a scholarship, and you throw your name in the hat and you might get a free ticket to the Camp Phi. And so I was like, I never win anything, but I'll throw my name in the hat anyways. And I won a ticket to it, which was awesome. And it was
meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I got there, and Steven, who runs the camp, he's a super nice guy, and he was like, "Oh, it's Captain DIY. I'm so glad you made it." I was like, "What are you talking about? Nobody knows me. I'm nobody. I have a blog that gets 30 hits a month." But apparently he was reading my blog, so I was really excited about that. And then they had another one that I went to in Virginia after that, which was a lot of fun. And David of Phiology.com, he invited me down to stay with his family the night before. And they're just, those 2 brothers are just incredibly nice guys, and it was really a pleasure to meet them. And in fact, I am going to be speaking at Camp Phi in July in Colorado, which I'm really excited about. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So I guess in that vein, like just talking about, going to these events, there's definitely like a whole FI movement that's going on around there. I personally have not gone to Camp Phi or, FinCon or any of those events yet, and I would love to probably like this year. But we really love to explore your own personal meaning of wealth, because obviously sometimes when you go to these things, a lot of people, we're all so different, and people live their lives so differently. And someone may have a meaning of wealth that's like, oh, let's buy all these things, and that's wealth. And then the other one might be, oh, I'm just going to live in the mountain by myself, and that's wealth, and there's like all these extremes and the in between, and I really want to explore what is your personal meaning of true wealth and what a wildly wealthy life looks like for you.
Yeah. So, thinking about this, I think my number one aspect of living a wealthy life is having a strong community around you. And that's something that like the Camp FI is really good for. A lot of people have said, it seems kind of counterintuitive to spend $500 for this camp on financial independence and saving money. And, I get that. I totally get that.
Right.
However, those camps definitely help build a strong sense of community. And I've made some incredible friends through these camps. That being said, that's not something that you have to do to build a strong community, of course. I mean, in my neighborhood, I have a very strong community, and I'm, my wife and I are good friends with a lot of our neighbors on our street. There's a lot of kids that are same age as our kids. And, that is wealth in so many ways. It's not only is it just interpersonal connection, which is huge, it's also fail-safes and backups. There's times when, it's like, oh no, I ran out of butter, and I could drive to the store and get butter, or I can go next door to get butter. Or, then that's like the lowest version of that. It also can go up to, oh no, I'm not going to make it home to the bus. I can call up my neighbor and say, can you get to the bus stop for me, get my kid? And my kid knows my neighbor really well, so there's no problem with that. And that amount of wealth that comes out of that, not necessarily monetary, but there is definitely some monetary gain from that, if you look at it deep enough. But that's definitely my number one aspect. I would say number two would be a collection of skills that can provide useful services, not only to myself, my family, but the community around me. And that's where like carpentry, electrical, any of these skills, animal management, child management, any of these skills come in incredibly handy. It's in helping strengthen those community bonds. Because like I said, sometimes I'm the one calling my neighbor, sometimes the one my neighbor's calling me saying, I need to put a deadbolt in. Oh yeah, okay, I can help you with that. And
That's awesome.
And if there's a zombie apocalypse, I would really want you to be on my I want you to be in my community.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the main point right there.
Right, that's the main point.
I like to that value of community I found recently so immensely important. I do a lot. I get put in like leadership positions, and then sometimes you get isolated and you kind of feel like you don't have the ability to ask for others because you're like kind of stirring them up and pouring into them and that sort of thing. But recently I was in my hometown actually, because we have a rental out there and we were flipping it. And day 2 that I was there, my father actually ended up passing away. So then I was just like, crap. Like one side was, how do I deal with like my father passing? The other side is, how do I get this apartment done and like the business end of things taken care of? But my family, like I hate asking for things, but they offered and said, hey, can we help you? I'm like, yeah, I need this. And I would have paid anything actually in those moments. So like that point you just made is so incredibly true. And there's so much that you can get from that.
Absolutely.
And it may sound kind of like a silly question, but what do you do to kind of foster that relationship with your neighbors, with your communities?
Mm-hmm. Are there something maybe like really intentional that you do, or sometimes some of those things come naturally for other people, and for some it doesn't. So maybe for our listeners where it's not as natural for them, what do you do intentionally to really foster a strong and good community?
That's a great question. And it's such a simple thing. I mean, you don't have to go crazy with this. Breaking bread with somebody has, from the beginning of time, connected people. And, like when your dad passed, food is one of those important things. When you're in a moment of darkness, you cannot think about food, but you still need it.
Right.
And so that's one thing that we've, as a community in our neighborhood, we've very intentionally done is, a neighbor of mine not too long ago had a heart attack. He's a young man, he's very healthy, and out of nowhere had a heart attack. And, the rest of us in the neighborhood that were all in this community, we kind of reached out to each other and said, okay, let's help. We're going to make them some food tonight. You make them some food tomorrow. And it was like 2 weeks worth of just bringing over meals and saying, okay, here's your dinner tonight. You don't have to worry about cooking. Here's your dinner tomorrow night. You don't have to worry about cooking. And that's such a load off your shoulders. When you're in a position like that, you know, it's the last thing you want to think about is having to cook dinner and having somebody bring you food. First of all, it takes that load off your shoulders. Second of all, you have this like, wow, this community is behind me, you know, and maybe I wasn't even very close to these people right before this, but now I have this connection that will always be there no matter what else happens in the future. And certainly if, you know, one of us goes through something like that, now those people are going to say, well, you know, we better go bring them a dinner because we need to help them out, you know, as part of the community. And so food is the best thing in terms of building community.
I love that. And it's so simple, and it's not even like, it's nothing expensive. It's literally just being mindful and caring enough to be able to do that. And I love that. So thank you for sharing that, because actually it's funny that you bring that up, because one of my friends who's a stunt guy, he actually just got injured. And so he just got out of surgery and all the stuff. And we organized a whole meal train for him where, you know, basically every day, you know, someone would go out there and deliver some food for him, because one of the things you can't do when you're fresh out of surgery is stand up, and he had a knee surgery, and stand up and, you know, make yourself some food. And, you know, he was really, really thankful and appreciative of that, you know, gesture. And so I totally agree that breaking bread, something as simple like that, and then it gives you a reason to go over there and visit and just sit with them, you know, and that's really beautiful. So thanks for sharing that, because that's really, yeah.
So in that line too, what kind of tools do you like to use to kind of reach your community? Because I know you have your blog. I don't know if like maybe like your local community, like you just go and like knock on neighbors' doors and see if they're home and would you like to say hi today, or like
you're sitting up and going off today? Let me fix it for you. I guess what we're trying to say is we love exploring people's hearts of like giving. And, you know, I think a lot of like the community, the FI community, is really not just, they're aware of their whys, but their whys are a lot deeper than just, you know, accumulating things. So we love exploring, at least a lot of the people that we've interviewed so far is people who really are such givers, you know. And so I guess we would just want to explore that as well. Like, you know, what areas in the community are you giving into, aside from your blog, which has so much value and so much like, you know, depth of like knowledge there.
And fun and humor.
And fun and humor. What else, you know, that you may want to share?
Well, you know, for a lot of it, I mean, certainly for the close physical community, you know, it's just being there and being available. And, you know, every once in a while, just reach out and say, hey, how's it going? When the weather is a little bit nicer, I'm in New England, so that, you know, we have 6 months a year where you can't go outside without freezing to death. And, you know, when the weather gets a little bit nicer, on Friday nights, we have a little happy hour where the neighbors come around, we hang out in the backyard and maybe have a little fire and we'll have some drinks and stuff. And, you know, whoever wants to come can come. And that works great for a very close proximity community. And then, you know, so the Choose FI, there's local groups that do meetups and stuff. And so there's a local Choose FI group in my area, and we just actually started doing monthly meetups, which has been really nice. Just getting to meet some new faces and just kind of hang out for a little bit with people who, you know, have similar ideas and maybe have some questions about particular things. And there's some people that are more knowledgeable in certain areas than others, and we can kind of bounce ideas off each other and stuff. So that's a really great way to connect and give back too. Also, you know, these certainly in the sense of developing a physical skill, like becoming an electrician or learning woodworking skills or something like that. You know, it's, my neighbors know that they can call me if they have an issue, you know, and I've been called several times by neighbors. Oh, you know, this light switch doesn't work anymore, you know, and I don't really know what's going on with it. And so I can go over there and check it out and, yep, okay, I'll just swap out the light switch for you. It'll take me 5 minutes and I'll save you, you know, $150, you know, to call an electrician. A couple days later, there's a 6-pack of beer on my doorstep that wasn't there when I left. You know, and it's things like that where it just kind of goes back and forth. And then, you know, I'll call them and, oh, I'm in a jam, you know, it's, my kids are driving me up the wall and we've been inside for 2 days. Oh yeah, send one down here, you know, we'll take them out somewhere. So yeah, it's the more you want the more you need to give. If you give more, you get more, and that's just kind of the way things work in the world.
Right.
It's just kind of the way the universe works. Whether or not it's meant to be, it just works out. If you give a lot of yourself, you tend to get a lot back from other people.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say is like the kind of legacy that you really would like to leave, like to your family, to your community, to your friends, to your children? We also love to kind of explore, again, like we're here like for such a very short amount of time we work so hard to establish this financial freedom, and it's amazing, but like we interviewed someone this past week, and she was like, yeah, we hit our number, and as soon as we hit our number, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's like, now what? Like if you really don't have like a clear picture of the kind of legacy that you want to build, sometimes you can get stuck and just kind of not really understand anymore why you were even working so hard to reach that number.
Right. That's a good one.
Yeah. Legacy would you like to, leave behind?
Yeah. A life lived is basically a collection of skills. And so a large part of what I would like to leave behind is I would like to pass on my collection of skills. And that's, I drag my kids into the garage and have them swing hammers with me and stuff. And, these are skills that I want to pass on, whether or not they end up using them in their life. It doesn't really matter. Just the fact that they have experience with a tool in their hand makes a big difference to me. Also, just the concept of prioritizing life over anything else. I mean, I wrote a blog post a while back about this, I think it was called Captain DIY Screws Up at Life. Because that was, so the point of that blog post was my evolution in the financial independence headspace, if you will. It's, and I feel like this is a pretty common evolution. You find out about financial independence. Holy cow, this is amazing. I want to retire next week. All right, I'm cutting out everything and I'm going to live a Spartan lifestyle. And you do that for a month or two. You're like, wow, this sucks. And then then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to reintroduce some stuff in my life, or you just drop out completely. You say, no, that was too much. That was too hard. I don't want to do that anymore. And so this is kind of this roller coaster of figuring that out, of finding that balance between life and work. And that blog post I wrote because I was realizing that I had screwed up. I was working all the time, and I was so focused on making money so that I could be financially independent that my kids were growing up without me. And my father-in-law, he's a really funny guy. He's a great influence on my life. His father died at 64. My father-in-law is almost 70 now. So he's like, I'm living on borrowed time. But his main point is time is everything. You can always make money. You can never make time. So, it's financial independence is great, and definitely go into it, and don't let it swallow your life. I guess that's the legacy that I want to leave for my kids is, don't let the pursuit of anything swallow your life.
That's actually really, really good.
And
I
mic
love that.
dropped.
And mic dropped. No,
Yes, that's right.
Anything swallow your gut. That is so good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And on that kind of note, I guess you have a lot of awesome nuggets all the way through your blog post. Could you take us through a little bit of what got that spark? What was it? Where did that idea come from to even start that blog for you?
Well, I've always been pretty good at writing. My wife was always saying, my mother too, oh, you should do some writing. You've always been good at it. And I never really had a venue for it. I started a blog actually a little bit before that one. That was just kind of a lifestyle blog and just writing about whatever popped into my head, mostly about parenthood. And that one, my mother made a comment. She's like, oh, your blog posts are so serious. You have humor, use your humor. And I was like, oh, writing about parenthood for whatever reason just brings out seriousness. Then I got into the financial independence stuff. And I was like, boy, this is really cool. I feel like I could add something to this, but I'm not really sure what. and thinking about it for a while, like, oh yeah, I guess the physical skills and vocational skills and that kind of stuff, I could do something about that. I could see how that would tie in, and I came up with the DIY-defy thing, and this ridiculous Captain DIY name.
It's perfect.
So I was like, how did nobody else take that already? Like that's so good. And then I love too, like your influence on your kids. Like I know for myself, like with my dad, I would begrudgingly sometimes go and like fix the brakes on our car. We would put a stove in. We built like a 20 by 10 deck off the back of the house and just all this other stuff. And I was always like, sometimes I'd be excited, but other times I'd be like, all right, Dad, yeah, I'll help you. Okay, let's go.
Yep.
But I was a truck driver too, and he was like away all the time. So when it was that time, it was kind of like, oh, that's our time. I mean, just so you know, like the impact you're leaving on your kid, because now when I moved away, we're in California now, but the amount of value that I've picked up from all the things that my dad kind of showed me or like influenced me to like go out and learn how to do, like you're adding so not only to your son and the people who read your blog, but just there's such a community that need that kind of knowledge and wisdom. So just like thank you for putting that out there, and also just the humor that I don't know, I really like. I've been having a lot of fun with that, and just watching like what is your son, if everybody looks at his Instagram or Captain DIY right now, you're teaching your son how to do like some blacksmithing too right now?
Yeah, I'm not really teaching him. I don't know anything about it. I'm teaching myself how to do some blacksmithing, and it's such a fun thing for a kid to do, because like you can't screw up that bad. It's just you take a piece of metal, you get it red hot, and you hit it with a hammer a bunch, and you see what happens.
Yeah,
and we've had some fun with it, and he does it. He'll come out with me to the garage for 5 or 10 minutes or so, and he'll bang away on it a little bit, and then it's not a finished product yet, so he gets bored of it and he goes away.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's all you really need. It's just a little bit. I'm not expecting him to become a professional blacksmith or anything, but we just go out there and we have a little bit of fun, and he doesn't do it very often, and when he does it for very little time, and then he goes away, and it's great.
Yeah. And sometimes they're just moments, they're little moments, and then if you look back, sometimes we remember just little moments. We don't really remember like these massive, crazy line of stories. Sometimes we just remember like little things with our parents. And so it's awesome that you're doing that, because I'm sure that someday you'll be like, oh yeah, I just, did that one time, a long time ago. Don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. So for people to live like their own personal version of a wildly wealthy life, what are your 3 actionable tips that you would kind of advise our audience?
So my number one tip, this is a quote that I saw recently that I absolutely love. Be brave enough to suck at something new.
Yeah.
And that, there's so much humility in picking up a new skill. By way of example, we do this ski club through the kids' school. So every Friday night we go out to the mountain and we go skiing with the kids. I'm a snowboarder, and I have been for 30 years. And I realized that snowboarding sucks when you're trying to teach your kids how to ski. It's really difficult. You're going on the bunny hill, you're going on the little hills, and you're spending all your time strapping in and unbuckling, and it's just awful. And so, it's all right. I'm gonna go skiing. I'm gonna get some skis. And the community came through. I got a pair of skis donated from a friend of mine who had an extra. A pair of boots donated, so I didn't have to buy anything for it, which was great. And so now, instead of flying down the mountain and looking all cool on a snowboard, I am absolutely sucking on a pair of skis. And, so, it's just learning how to suck at something new. Not only do you develop a new skill, which that is going to be the point of my talk at Camp FI, is the correlation between happiness and the pursuit of development of new physical skills. The satisfaction that comes with stretching your comfort zone and trying something new. There's that aspect. There's also the character growth that comes from eating a slice of humble pie. And you're not going to look cool doing that thing. And yeah, that's good for you. You can't always look cool. You know, everybody wants to look cool. Everybody wants to put their best face on Instagram. But, you know, if you don't try something new and suck at it, then you're only going to be cool at that one thing and you're never going to get past it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's action tip number 1. Tip number 2 that I've found worked for me is put your intentions out to the universe. You know, I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but I have noticed that, you know, when I am looking to do something, whatever it might be, you know, I built a gym in my garage so I could work out there. And when I was looking for fitness equipment, you know, all of a sudden I found it everywhere. I found an exercise bike on the side of the road for free. I found a whole bunch of weight equipment, you know, on the side of the road for free. So, you know, when you put your intentions out to the universe, it seems like the universe gives back to you and kind of recognizes that. And all of a sudden people are like, hey, you know, I happen to find this spare, you know, ball peen hammer. Oh yeah, I was looking for a ball peen hammer for the longest time. And hey, look at that. Now I have one, you know?
Yeah.
So that seems to work really well for me. And I think I'm probably not the only one that works well for. So that's my second action tip. And my third action tip would be start small and avoid lofty aspirations at first. You know, and I certainly have a tendency when I want to start something new. When I started blacksmithing for the first time, you know, I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going to be a pro blacksmith. I'm going to make a 4-foot katana that's going to, you know, rival the best samurai swords, right? And yeah, and then, you know, I quickly realized, yeah, right. Keep waiting. It'll be a while. Because I realized that, you know, people take 25 years of hard work to get to a skill level like that. I'm not going to do that, you know, in 3 weekends of blacksmithing in my garage. Yeah. And so starting small and, you know, small project, regardless of what skill you're learning, if you start with a small, simple project, then you get that satisfaction of having completed something. You say, yes, I did this. I made this thing, whatever it is. And I actually did a halfway decent job at it because I picked a super simple project, you know, instead of just mangling a really complex project.
Yeah.
You know, if you recognize that, yeah, I'm not going to be the world's best blacksmith next year or ever, maybe, you know, it's then, okay, so I can start small and I can set myself up for these little wins.
Yeah.
And then as that progresses, then, you know, in 10 years, I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, wow, I'm actually, you know, a halfway decent blacksmith now, you know, and that goes for the development of any new skill. You start small, you get these little wins, and 10 years from now, you look back and you go, wow, I've come a long way.
Yeah. I've found that in so many different things when it comes to like home construction and repair and that there's like, I will jump into something and turn it into a wonderful mess. And then have to humbly bring somebody in to kind of like take over and show me the right way to do something. But an example, we have I wish I could turn the camera. We have like a fire pit outside, and I just, you know, simple brick and stuff. It was first time using like mortar, and it is a interesting little pile of. But that also helped me like be able to just have the confidence in doing it and practicing it. And then we had a leak in our bathroom, and then I had to gut the whole thing, and then ended up tiling the shower and everything. And I was like, hey, this is actually, I think I did okay with this one. But it's like
nice.
Repetition, the practice, and the humble pie is for sure there.
Yep. For sure.
One of the best things I have on a
and I'm showering there.
daily basis.
Yep.
I'm showering and I look over. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's a little bit off.
Yep.
Not perfect, but okay.
But it's good. But it's good. It's still
well, that's the thing. It's not perfect, but you did it. And you made it.
Yeah. 100%. So fun.
Okay, so we're coming up on our quick 10. So quick
right.
are the rapid fire questions that we ask all our guests, and we want you to basically say the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't censor it. Some of the questions are kind of related to our topic. Yeah, don't censor it. It's fine. And then some of them are just random fun things that we want to ask our guests or get to know about our guests. And keep your answers as short as possible, nice and concise. And are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Number one, if you could choose one book to live by, what would it be?
Oh, what's it called? What Doesn't Kill Us by,
Phyllis.
it's a Scott, I'm not going to remember his name now. It's about the Wim Hof method.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a fantastic book.
We'll
Put the
look it
link
up.
in, yeah, we'll put the link in the description below. So, personal hero, living, deceased, someone maybe you know or you don't know.
Ooh. Oh man, that has changed so many times over the course of my life.
Correct.
Teenage me would say Jimi Hendrix.
Jimmy Hendrix, the teenage Tinian.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, current me, I don't know. I don't have anyone in particular. There's just so many.
All
That's
right,
okay.
we'll go with Jimi Hendrix. Number three, the one thing you intentionally have to do every day.
Exercise.
Exercise. All
Next
right.
one. Hobby that brings you the most joy.
Currently, blacksmithing.
Blacksmithing. All right. Number five, most rewarding thing you've done for someone in need.
Ooh, I have done some electrical work for people that have been friends of mine or parents of friends of mine, and it's just felt so incredibly good to help these people out. And you know, my best friend's parents, who I grew up next door to, he is suffering from dementia right now, and they don't have any money, and they had an electrical issue, and so it just felt so good to be able to go over there and take care of that for them.
That's
Nice.
amazing. That's really good. Next one is first movie quote that pops in your head.
First movie quote?
That comes to you.
Oh boy. I was just talking about the Blues Brothers movie with my dad last night. That's a movie that I've seen I don't know how many hundreds of times, but pretty much anything in there. I think the best one is when they pull up to the dive bar that they're going to play at, and he says, "I'll talk to Bob." I don't know why, but that just resonates with me.
He does that.
Right before amazing rawhide scene and everything.
Yes.
Else. Such a good movie.
Such a
All
good
right.
movie.
Number seven, last big purchase you made for yourself.
The last big purchase. I haven't really made a big one recently. I'd say the biggest one that we made was the hot tub. That was a couple of years ago, and that's been amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Food you cannot live without.
I'm not really picky about food. If I had to pick, I'd go with cheeseburgers.
All right.
Cool.
Love me a cheeseburger.
Solid. Solid choice. All right. Number nine, what is your spirit animal?
Oh man, these are tricky. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I guess I'd love to pick something cool like a wolf or a hawk or something, but in reality it's probably more like a hedgehog or something.
Hedgehog. Okay. Oh, hedgehog.
Okay, so number 10, the last one. These go by quick sometimes. If I'm stuck on an island by myself, ... How would you finish that sentence?
I'd bring a boat.
You'd bring a boat. Okay, that's great.
Genius. And
So you knew that you were going to be stuck on the island by yourself.
Although I guess that kind of negates the question, because then I wouldn't be stuck on the island, right?
It was all good.
That's good.
Awesome. I love your answers. That's amazing. Okay, so Tinian, where can people find out more about you? And if there is maybe like one area or maybe a charity or something or whatever it is that you love supporting in your community that you may kind of want to share that maybe people can learn about and also support, what would that be?
So one thing that I found out recently exists, and I wrote an article about it on my website, is tool libraries, where you can just go and borrow a tool, just like a library lends out books, and then you can use the tool and you bring it back to the tool library, which, yeah, that's such a cool idea. And so, I think everybody should work on this. And if you have an extra tool, find a local tool library and donate it.
Wow.
That's such a great idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I wrote an article about it a couple of months ago. Actually, it's probably been a while ago because I write 2 articles a year these days. But yeah, so my website is DIY2fi.com, DIY the number 2fi.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pretty active on Twitter at DIY Captain, and fairly active on Instagram at DIY Captain as well as Tinian Crawford. I'm terribly active on Facebook though.
Sorry. No worries.
Awesome.
And you had mentioned the Phi Camp, but where else could people look for you?
Yeah. So like I said, I'll be speaking at Camp FI in Colorado City in July. There's 2 weeks. I'll be at week 2. I don't remember the dates off the top of my head. Mid-July, late July, something like that. Other than that, I don't really have any engagements set up. I'm not really a public figure in that sense. But I live in Western Massachusetts, and I'm the admin of the local Choose Phi Western Massachusetts Facebook group. So if anybody's in the area and they want to hook up, come swing by that Facebook group, and we do our meetups once a month or so, usually on the last Thursday of the month or something like that. And hit me up. It'd be great to meet some new people.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much, Tinian, for joining us today. You shared so many great nuggets. I really, really love everything that you shared. So yeah.
I'm really happy to be able to meet you too, and just hear a little bit of your heart and kind of what community, what wealth, and that really means to you, and how you share that with your friends and family in the area. So thanks again.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No worries.
Wow. That was a very, very insightful talk with Tinian Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
I love that his number one indicator for a wildly wealthy life is having a strong community, and how breaking bread is a very simple way to just build solid ties with your community.
And I really like the look at life as a collection of skills, and how that can help you save money in your own life, but also how that really can make an impact on the community around you.
Well, our next podcast, we have Gino Barbaro. He's an entrepreneur. He's a life coach. He's a full-time real estate investor. He's an author. He's owned over 1,500 units, on top of being an amazing father of 6. Really can't wait to dig in with Gino as to how a successful career on top of just being an amazing father and husband. So we'll see you then.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wildly Wealthy Life. We hope that this episode has helped you take another step towards living fully, giving freely, and building a legacy that deeply impacts your community. We'd love to hear what you think about today's show. Please leave us a review or like us on iTunes and YouTube, and click the subscribe button so you won't miss a show. You can also visit us at wildlywealthylife.com for today's show notes. See you on our next episode. Thank you, and may you live a wildly wealthy life.